As Outlast starts, you play as Miles Upshur, who is an investigative journalist who recently got an email from an unknown whistleblower, and you're trying to figure out what he's trying to tell you. Something along the lines of something bad is going down in this asylum. You're just driving your Jeep up the road listening to the radio, and it's not really anything that exciting, but once you get there, you notice there's no one at the gate. So you park your Jeep, you pick up your email from your mysterious whistleblower, and you get your camera primed and ready to walk in to, well, who knows what at this point. So once you have all your, and by your gear I mean just a camera. That's right, just a camera. At least it does have night vision, as you can see here. That night vision will come in very handy later on. But once you have your camera, you're ready to head inside the building, but you quickly find out that the doors are locked, so you have to look around until you find this hole. Once you're through the hole, you have to climb up some scaffolding, do a little bit of jumping, just to crawl in through an open window, because apparently no one could figure out how to leave the door unlocked so you could get in. Once you finally muster up the courage to walk around a bit, you meet such things as screeching TVs. You also see hallways with quite a bit of blood in them, and while the screeching TV might not return, blood comes back in a big way when certain people leave signs written in blood telling you where to go. After a bit more exploring and a few minor jump scares, you reach the library. Once you swallow your heart back down after it tried to jump out of your throat, you head into the library where you meet this poor shish kebabbed guy.
They got out. The variants. You can't fight them. You have to hide. You can unlock the main doors from security control.
So you head off to the security main control to try to unlock the main doors. And it's really quiet, so you think you're okay. And then you meet this guy.
Little pig.
Ouch. Next up, you meet Father Martin, who is kind of a driver of events in this game.
And who are you, then? I see. Merciful God, you have sent me an apostle. Guard your life, son. You have a calling.
He's kind of crazy, actually. Once you finally wake up again, it's your task to find the guard station where you can unlock the doors. After taking some pains to find a dead guard with a key card on him, so you can open the door, you finally get to try to unlock the doors, but of course the game just started, so obviously that's not going to happen as you think it will. That's right, it's off to the basement. Of course, you just made a lot of racket in there, so someone knows you're in there, and you have to hide from your best friend throughout the whole game, Chris. He's the guy who threw you off from the balcony in the first place, so we don't like Chris very much. Luckily, it seems like he always picks the locker you didn't hide in, for at least this part. And if he doesn't see you, he generally doesn't pick the locker you hid in. But you have to become very familiar with hiding in lockers, because that's a really large part of this game, is hiding. Once you finally decide to make a break for it, you can run to the basement where another part of the game comes into play. Basically, you have to activate things in an area that let you activate a bigger thing that actually does what you want it to do. But while you're running around this area, generally in the dark, there is someone coming after you. And every time you activate one of the things, in this case a gas pump, it makes a really loud noise, and whoever is looking for you knows exactly where you are. So of course you have to hide. For right here in the basement, it's just a normal guy with a pipe or a machete, but later on, you get bigger bad guys like Chris and another guy called Dr. Traeger. Now, it's actually not so bad when they find you, because as you can see right here, you don't die when they hit you the first time. So even if they come up right behind you and hit you, as long as you're not on the insane mode anyway, you can run away, and you can run faster than them, so as long as you can turn a corner and hide, you'll be okay. Once you've turned the power back on, you can head right back up to the same security office where you can try once again to unlock the doors. However, Father Martin appears out of nowhere and he's not having any of it.
I'm sorry, my son. I didn't want to have to do this to you. But you can't leave. Not yet. There's so much yet for you to witness. Will you see it? Can you? Our Lord, the Wall Rider, tearing his truth into the unbelievers. The only way out of this place is the truth. Accept the gospel, and all doors will open before you.
Once you wake up again, you find yourself in a padded cell in a cell block full of other crazy people. Because by now, you're probably a little bit crazy.
Who's this?
Just like these people who you meet called the twins.
Maybe. He looks nervous. I would like to kill him. No more. As would I. The preacher asked us not to. It would be impolite. Not here.
They go on to express some equally nice sentiments, but I'm gonna skip over those. And now you get to see more of the blood on the walls, but this time, they actually mean something. They lead you to an exit, so I assume Father Martin was writing these to get you to where he wants you to go. Father Martin then leaves a message saying the only way out is down the drain. And by down the drain, he means you go to the sewers. So after a bit more exploring and hiding from things that want to, kill you, you eventually find your way to the showers. And the showers are in a bit of a state of disrepair, and as you can see, there is a giant hole in the ground. And this hole in the ground leads to the sewers. The sewers are actually the very first place where you see the Wall Rider. The Wall Rider is what Father Martin refers to as his god. That is the god he wants you to see and report to the world. A little farther into the sewer, we find our next objective. Flush the water by turning the two valves. Now, just like the other area where you had to find these two things to turn on so that you could do another thing, this section has someone that chases you. This time, however, is a bigger guy than the last time. This guy is Chris in all of his chain-rattling glory. Now, luckily, Chris is not super fast. As you can see here, you can just jump over that thing right next to him and he can't get you. So, as long as you're light on your feet, you'll be okay. Now off to find the two valves so that you can drain the water and go even deeper into this terrific sewer. Also, when Chris does find you, he just grabs you and throws you a little bit. He doesn't instantly kill you or anything, so that's nice too. Once you've turned all the valves and drained the water, you can descend even further into the sewers, but it also gets a lot darker down there, so make sure you have plenty of batteries. After escaping from Chris yet again, you finally make your way out of the sewers, and then you find yourself in a place that's actually not that much better. It's kind of looks like a hospital wing, but it's covered in blood, much like everywhere else in this lovely place. You pretty quickly get found by some people who of course start chasing you, so after a fairly intense chase, you find this room. This guy tells you to get into a dumbwaiter, and you don't really have much choice because they're right behind you, so barely make it away from them, and then this guy appears.
You made the right choice here, buddy. Hey, you're the bullshit priest's guy, aren't you? As a witness or whatever, you must be exhausted. Huh? Let's take a break, huh, buddy? You'll do more
Dr.
than you
Traeger
want.
then proceeds to wheel you in a wheelchair into this really, really gross bathroom. He starts
Thanks so much for
talking
coming
like
by
he's gonna
and begin
consult
your
you with some stuff, and takes your camera. You're strapped into this wheelchair, by the way. You can't really get away.
I'll move
It's just a cutscene that keeps going.
and
He does some pretty gross stuff in that cutscene, so I'm gonna skip over it, but basically he cuts off 2 of your fingers, and then you fight your way out of the wheelchair, and then you throw up, and then you grab your camera, and then you walk out into this room. So this starts another area where you're trying to get out, and Dr. Traeger is around, and he can see you and come after you and try to hunt you some more. Eventually you find a key that lets you start this elevator, and you can get away finally. You feel that sweet relief as the elevator is starting to go down away from him, and then he's right there. And oh, he gets the door open. Luckily, this is all on a cutscene, it just kind of happens. You let him do his thing, and then I'm just gonna say the elevator killed him and leave it at that. So once you finally get downstairs, you get to see Father Martin again.
I feared that secular maniac would carve you up like the others. Meet me outside. We're close now.
You're supposed to go outside, but the path to get there is, it's a little bit on fire. So first you have to be able to find a way to turn on the sprinkler system, and there's your carved up hand.
I had to burn it. All of it. Murkoff took so much from us.
Yeah, that guy set the place on fire. Unfortunately, you do actually have to turn on the sprinklers to get rid of the fire, even though it'd probably be better if the whole place just burned down, but that's not how this goes. Next up is a hide-and-seek segment with our good pal, Chris. That's right, you have to go turn on some valves in the corridors where Chris is lurking about so that you can set off the sprinkler system in order to get outside. It's never as easy as you think it should be, right? So once you find a valve, turn it, hide because Chris undoubtedly heard you and is going to come for you, so you have to hide so they won't kill you, and then do that whole thing twice again. Actually, just twice because there are only 2. You can finally turn on the sprinklers and give Chris a much needed shower. Also, it's kind of hard to see through all that water, so it's just kind of a weird effect. But anyway, it also put out the fire, which is what you wanted in the first place. So finally, you can follow Father Martin's orders and find him outside. So once you finally find the outside door, and you go outside, you realize it is really hard to see anything because night vision cameras just don't work in rain apparently all that well. So I guess it's better than nothing, but it's really hard to see anything. It's like, why even bother with the camera almost, despite it helping a little bit. I don't know. It's a tough dilemma, but it's really nice when the light actually comes because then you can see what you're doing. Also, there are weird screeching noises. After doing a lot of parkour things and like jumping around, you eventually get into an area where Chris is also there. So he gets to chase you in the dark where you can hardly even see, which is not really very fun. It's just kind of scary, but it's you know, it is what it is. After a while looking for where to go, you finally see this little hole and realize Chris was like a foot behind you, but luckily he didn't grab you, so yay. After trying a few locked doors, you realize there's this window that's open, just like at the very beginning of the game. Now that you're inside, Father Martin will talk to you.
You saw the wall rider, didn't understand, but not yet. Even Abraham had to cast his eye. This way. Revelation is at hand.
So you look for a way to find Father Martin on the 3rd floor, but of course, the stairs are out. After exploring for a while, and even doing some more hide-and-seek segments where there was like the normal pipe/machete carrying guys, actually 3 of them that time, but it was just kind of more of the same, so I'm going to skip over it. You eventually find your way to this little parkour course from the Nether Underworld or something. That jump looks like you should have been able to do it, but you end up dropping your camera. You need your camcorder in order to be able to navigate the darkness, so you have to make your way back down to find it. Except this time you can't see in the dark very well, because you don't have the night vision. This means the game makes use of lightning to let you see. Now, lightning is a little bit less predictable than being able to use night vision, so this kind of happens. And then you just have to wait to be able to see, and yeah, it's probably one of the actual most spooky parts of the game, honestly, because you're kind of without the only thing you had, which really wasn't much. You do eventually find it again, though, and you can probably guess what happens next. Yep, there's like 3 guys over there. Not only that, but your camera is permanently cracked for the rest of the game. So, in addition to that crack thing on the left, that little glitchy camera that you just saw, that little flashing, yeah, that just kind of happens at random intervals now. So, that's something you have to deal with from now on. After making your way back to where you were, you find yourself in a office space along with Chris. So you get another hide-and-seek segment with Chris, although this time you don't actually have to trigger anything, you just have to make it past him, which is actually a lot easier. After you get past him and crawl through a vent through a while, you find yourself back in the practically start of the game. In that place over to the left, that's exactly where Chris picked you up and threw you through the balcony window, so interesting how things come full circle in this game. After a little bit more exploring, a guy tells you that there's a key in the theater. Father Martin put it there before you got there because he wanted you to see the video before he let you get to him.
The films are real. There was no alteration to the footage at all, no trickery? None. In June of 1943, you recorded 3 instances of spontaneous bleeding. Half a dozen test subjects began to develop brain tumors?
Yes. The autopsies revealed that the tumors were pure lead.
It killed them? Can you explain why the results could not be reproduced in the United States?
I have my theories. My homeland in those years. It's impossible to understand the things we felt, what we believed. The overwhelming fear, ecstatic rage, and English words are insufficient. More than hope. The human mind in that environment is capable of extraordinary things.
You're saying the experiment needed...
In proximity to death, to overwhelming madness. Only a test subject who had witnessed enough horror was capable of activating the engine.
Do you believe your test subjects achieved something supernatural?
No,
Do you think that they contacted something supernatural?
nothing is supernatural.
Then what was it? You said Project Wallrider was a gateway. A gateway to what?
So after you've seen the quote-unquote movie, you make your way up to the projection room where you find a key. And the key will let you get to Father Martin on the 3rd floor, finally. So you finally make it to where Father Martin is. You see our good friends, the twins. They just kind of appear out of nowhere and are suddenly not bad anymore. And Father Martin has crucified himself over a pile of kindling.
We will join the Wall Rider in just a moment.
He goes on to talk for a while about a few things.
You alone shall escape the Tower. This is your penultimate act of witness. The promise of the prophets was always freedom from death. And here it is. You will watch and record my death, my resurrection. And together we will be free. You are no longer in any danger. I fixed the elevator. It will take you to freedom. We will all of us be free.
Note that his version of freedom is dying.
Now, my son.
So, that's a little bit of foreshadowing there. So Father Martin proceeds to torch himself, and then the twins let you out, and you're on your way to the elevator, where presumably you can finally get out of this place. So you get to the elevator, you think you're at the end, the elevator starts going down, nothing's going wrong, nobody's showing up. In fact, there's the exit. And then the elevator keeps going. Turns out the elevator actually took you to the basement, not the main exit. For some reason, the basement is all white. Not really sure why it looks kind of icy. It was a weird aesthetic to go for, but, you know, whatever. I kind of like it. So you get to see this area, which is, what you saw on the security cameras at practically the beginning of the game. These soldiers got dragged around, and there's what's left of them. You walk a little farther, and you finally get to see the final boss of the game. The Wall Rider. And then it gets to chase you to some pretty intense chase music. You get to this door, though, and suddenly Chris is there. But it's okay, because he just made himself the Wall Rider target. And some bad things are about to happen to him that I'm going to skip, so there's the aftermath of him after the Wall Rider got to him. I'm gonna leave it at that. If you want to see what happened to it, you can find another video. I just don't really want to put it in mine. Eventually you find Dr. Wernicke, who explains that he's been kept alive by Billy, who is the Wall Rider, by the way. He's just been down here by himself, pretty old, pretty low quality of life, really. So he explains to you that you have to try to kill Billy for everyone's sake, because he's basically a super powerful ghost projection, MK Ultra, craziness, morphogenic engine. There's a lot of big science words. They kind of gloss over a lot of it, though, so I'll just do the same. So on your new mission to find and kill Billy, the Wall Rider, you find the morphogenic engine, and you're told to turn off the life support for Billy, who is right there. Honestly, if I were Billy, I think I'd appreciate having my life support turned off, because that looks terrible. So after you turn a valve a couple times, it clearly says do not turn, but you do it anyway. You also unplug this thing with what's left of your hands. Doesn't seem like you should be able to put that much pressure on your hands, but you've been doing it all game, so it's fine. You finally turn off the morphogenic engine, and this happens to poor Billy. The water just kind of goes red, except the Wall Rider doesn't seem to be dying. In fact, your vision is kind of doing a weird thing, and then you think to yourself, huh, maybe I'm pretty close to death right now. Maybe I've seen enough madness that Wernicke was just talking about. Maybe I'm the next prime subject for the Wall Rider. So he proceeds to do that. He just kind of goes inside. You fall again. You groan a little bit. After all, who wouldn't at that point? That had to hurt pretty bad. You get a good look at the morphogenic engine for some reason. And then you find your camera. It's the record of all the crap we've been through already, and you just want to get out now. Except now you're limping, which makes this a whole lot harder. After limping your way up the stairs for a while, you finally get to this corridor. You're gonna get to the door. You're gonna get back to that elevator, and you're gonna get out, right? Well, you fall down a bit more. By the way, that was happening all up the stairs. You just kind of kept falling. Which is kind of understandable, given all the stuff that happened. I'm surprised he hasn't died long ago just from blood loss after the fingers. But then this happens. As with any horror game, worth its salt or whatever, of course it can't end well. They never do, right?
You have become the host. Jesus God, what is that thing?
It would seem that you become the Wall Rider. It's not super clear if that means you're alive through the Wall Rider, or if you just become like what Billy was. You're basically just, unfortunately, a vegetable, but either way, that was Outlast. The footage from the game was actually recorded by my friend Ben, who might or might not have his own channel in the future where this playthrough may or may not be posted. So thank you to Ben for the footage. Thank you for letting me try this new video format, and I'll see you in the next video.